I never imagined that the sound of shattering porcelain could break a mother's heart more thoroughly than the porcelain itself. But there I was, 63 years old, lying on my kitchen floor in Albuquerque at midnight, tasting blood. Above me, Mitchell, my son, my only child, stood swaying, his eyes glassy with whiskey and something darker. My grandmother's Chinese porcelain tea set lay scattered around me like accusations. Each piece had survived a revolution, an ocean voyage, decades in our family. They couldn't survive my son's rage. "You see what you made me do?" Mitchell's words slurred together. "Always disappointed in me. Just like Dad." The painting, my late husband Ricky's favorite desert landscape his own father had painted in 1952, lay torn on the floor. Mitchell had ripped it off the wall during his rampage. How did we get here? I knew the answer. It started 6 months after we buried Ricky, when Mitchell got demoted at the bank. The demotion became a firing. That's when he moved back home. Just temporarily, Mom. That was 3 years ago. The temporary arrangement became permanent. Job applications became excuses. Occasional drinks became daily oblivion. My brilliant son who graduated summa cum laude became a stranger wearing Mitchell's face. He stumbled toward the stairs now, muttering. Within minutes he'd be unconscious while I lay here bleeding and broken. Get up, I told myself. But I couldn't, because once I got up, I'd have to make a decision. The same decision I'd been avoiding for months. Every time Mitchell's temper flared, every time he demanded money from my pension, every time he looked at me with contempt. Protect him from consequences, or let him face them? The kitchen clock ticked loudly. 0:35 a.m. I thought of my sister Chloe in Denver, who'd been asking pointed questions. I deflected, made excuses. I thought of my neighbor Archer, the retired prosecutor who'd stalked me 2 weeks ago. "Cecilia," I heard shouting. "If you ever need help, we're fine," I lied. I thought of Ricky. We failed him, I thought. But had we? Or had Mitchell failed himself? I finally pushed myself up. My head spun. My shoulders screamed, but I managed. And sitting there among the broken porcelain, I made a decision. No more protecting. No more pretending that love alone could fix this. I walked to the telephone, the old landline Ricky had insisted we keep. My fingers found the numbers I needed. First, Archer. He answered on the third ring. "Cecilia? I need your help," I said. "Please come tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. There's something I need to do, and I need a prosecutor's witness. I'll be there. Are you safe right now?" "For now. But Archer, things are going to change tomorrow." Next, I called Detective Christian Hart, the domestic violence specialist whose card I'd hidden in my recipe box 3 months ago. I left a message. "This is Cecilia Cabrera. I need to file a report about my son. Please come tomorrow morning at 9. Finally, the hardest call. "Chloe. Cease? It's almost 1 in the morning. What's wrong?" I told her not everything but enough. "I'm driving down tonight." "No. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. I have preparations to make." "Cease. What are you planning?" I looked around my destroyed kitchen. "I'm planning breakfast. A very special breakfast. And then I'm planning justice." After I hung up, I stood in the silent kitchen. Upstairs, Mitchell's snoring. Deep, peaceful, untroubled. That's about to change. I had 8 hours, 8 hours to clean, 8 hours to prepare, 8 hours before I would set a table with my wedding china and serve my son breakfast, and consequences in equal measure. I picked up a piece of broken porcelain and felt something inside me break too. But not in weakness, in clarity. The morning after begins, I realized, with the night before, with the moment you decide that enough is enough. That love doesn't mean accepting abuse. I took a deep breath and began to clean. The night was long, but I had work to do, and a breakfast to prepare that would change everything. At 3:17 a.m., I was still picking up pieces of my life. Some things, once broken, stay broken. The trick is learning which things are worth trying to repair and which you need to let go. I was done trying to repair Mitchell. After the kitchen was clean, I carried Ricky's ruined painting to the garage. Maybe someday it could be restored, or maybe it would remain torn, a reminder. At 4:30 a.m., I began preparing breakfast. Not just any breakfast, Christmas morning, Easter, birthday breakfast. the kind Mitchell would wake up excited for when he was young and life was uncomplicated. Was I a good mother? The question haunted me as I worked. Had I been too lenient, too strict? Every parent's eternal torture, wondering if you're the reason your child struggles. But no, at some point our children make their own choices. Mitchell chose the bottle. He chose anger. He chose to blame everyone else, and I had chosen to enable him. Not anymore. I made sopapillas, red chal breakfast burritos, calabacitas, bizcoquitos. Every dish was perfect. Every dish was a memory. Every dish was goodbye to who we'd been. As I cooked, I cried, silent tears for the boy Mitchell had been, for the man I'd hoped he'd become, for myself, for the courage this was taking. At 5:45 a.m., I went to the dining room. Ricky had built the table himself from mesquite wood. It had been years since we'd used this room for anything but storage. I cleared it now, dusted and swept, polished until it gleamed. Then I removed my wedding china, Lenox Eternal, with delicate platinum trim. We'd eaten from these plates on anniversaries and Thanksgivings. After Ricky died, I'd wrapped them away. It hurt too much. But today, I needed them. Needed their formality, their silent testimony to when our family was whole. I set 4 places: me, Mitchell, Archer, Chloe. Each placement perfect. Dinner plate, salad plate, napkins folded the way my mother taught me. Everything saying, this matters. At the head of the table, Ricky's place, where Mitchell had sat since Ricky's death. I placed Mitchell's setting. Today I needed everyone to see him there. My phone buzzed at 6:15 a.m. Chloe. Just past Santa Fe. Are you sure about this? Me, more sure than I've been about anything in years. Archer. I've briefed Detective Hart. This is brave Cecilia. Ricky would be proud. Would he? I wanted to believe that. That sometimes love means letting go. At 7:00 a.m. Mitchell's alarm went off upstairs. He'd be awake soon, hungover, probably not remembering last night. Or pretending not to. I looked at myself in the hallway mirror. The bruises had darkened overnight. My left eye swollen, cheekbone purple and yellow. The cut on my lip worse in daylight. Finger-shaped bruises on my neck. Good, I thought fiercely. Let everyone see. Let there be no hiding. I'd put on the navy dress I'd worn to Ricky's funeral, formal, dignified. I applied makeup everywhere except the injuries. Those needed to be visible. At 7:30 a.m., Mitchell's shower started. He was getting ready for a day he thought would be like any other day. Not today. At 8:00 a.m. I started fresh coffee, the good pinyon coffee from Espanola. The smell filled the house, rich, welcoming. Come down, Mitchell. Come down and face what you've done. At 8:15 a.m., his footsteps on the stairs, heavy, slow, hungover. He stopped in the kitchen doorway. I turned to face him, watched his eyes widen at my injuries. Oh my God. Mom, what happened? Did you fall? Did I fall? The automatic lie. No, Mitchell. I didn't fall. You hit me. You grabbed me and shook me and slapped me. You destroyed my grandmother's tea set and your grandfather's painting. Do you remember? He swayed, gripping the doorframe. It's fuzzy. I'd had a few drinks, I was upset. Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't mean. Don't apologize. Not yet. Not to me. His eyes went to the formal table. What's going on? Is someone coming over? Yes, several summons. We're having a breakfast meeting at 9 o'clock. A breakfast meeting? Mom, I'm not up for company. I have a killer headache. I know you do. That's what happens when you drink a bottle of whiskey and assault your mother. Hangovers are the least of what you're dealing with today. Fear flickered in his eyes. Mom, let's not make a big deal. I said I was sorry. We don't need other people in our family business. That's where you're wrong. You and I can't fix this alone. I've been trying for over a year and look where it's gotten us. I gestured to my face. Just let me go upstairs. We can talk later. No, you're going to shower, put on clean clothes and sit at that table and face the people who love you enough to hold you accountable. If you try to leave, I will call the police myself. Police? Mom, you can't be serious. The doors are locked. Your car keys are in my purse, which is locked in my bedroom. You have 30 minutes to make yourself presentable. I suggest you use them. Something in my voice convinced him. He stared at me, calculating, then turned and went upstairs. I stood alone, hands shaking. heart racing, but underneath the fear was something else: determination. At 8:45 am, Chloe arrived. She took one look at my face and pulled me into her arms. "Oh, Cece, look what he did to you." At 8:52 am, Archer arrived with Detective Hart and 2 uniformed officers. This was really happening. "Thank you for coming," I said. "Breakfast is almost ready and my son will be down shortly." At 9:03 am, Mitchell appeared at the stairs, and the expression on his face when he saw our assembled guests was something I would remember forever. It was the look of a man who'd finally run out of places to hide. Mitchell's face went white when he saw them all. Chloe by the window, arms crossed. Archer by the bookshelf. Detective Hart at the dining room entrance with 2 uniformed officers. And me standing at the head of the table. "What's going on?" His voice cracked. "Good morning, Mitchell. Please have a seat. We're having breakfast." "Mom, I don't know what you think you're doing. Sit down." 2 words, quietly spoken, but with a firmness I'd never used before. He moved toward the table like a man walking to his execution, which in a way he was. Not of his life, but of his excuses. I brought out the food: sopapillas, breakfast burritos smothered in red chile, calabacitas, bizcochitos, all his favorites. I set each dish with deliberate care, making it all beautiful, making it all matter. "Mom, please, can we talk privately?" Mitchell's voice had that wheedling quality I'd heard too often. "We don't need all these people here." I sat down. "Actually, Mitchell, we do. Because this isn't just about last night. It's about the last 3 years since your father died." Chloe sat beside me. Archer took his seat. Detective Hart remained standing, notebook ready. "Let's say grace," I said. I reached for Chloe's hand, extended my other toward Mitchell. He stared at my hand, then reluctantly took it. I could feel him shaking. "Dear God, thank you for this food, for this family, and for the strength to do what's right even when it's hard. Help us all to see the truth clearly. Help us choose courage over comfort. And help us remember that love sometimes means letting go so healing can begin. Amen." Mitchell said nothing. "Last night," I began, "my son came home intoxicated. He destroyed family heirlooms, our grandmother's Chinese porcelain tea set, and his own grandfather's painting. But that's not the worst thing." I touched my swollen face. "Last night my son grabbed me, shook me, pushed me into the cupboard where I struck my head, and then slapped me." The room went silent. "Mrs. Cabrera," Detective Hart said quietly, "I need to inform Mr. Cabrera of his rights." "Wait." Mitchell's voice rose. "Mom, tell them you fell. It was an accident." Then Mitchell looked around at the beautiful table, the formal settings, and his voice took on a strange, mocking cheerfulness. "Oh, breakfast, you set the table. You've become more obedient and compliant. That's good." The words hung in the air like poison. Archer's face hardened. Chloe gasped. "No, Mitchell," I said. "I haven't become obedient. I've become done." Chloe stood up, her chair scraping. "You hit your mother, destroyed her home, and you think she should be grateful?" "Aunt Chloe, you don't understand. She's been on my case for months." I just snapped, "Okay? I didn't mean to hurt her." "You meant it," I said quietly. "You meant every moment. Last night wasn't the first time you've hurt me. You've been hurting me for months, with words, intimidation, taking my money without asking, blaming me for your choices. And last night, when I suggested you clean up your mess, you hurt me." Mitchell's face was red. "You don't know what it's like, Mom. Losing Dad, losing my job. You're right. But I lost my husband too. I grieved while still functioning, working, keeping this household running. You know what I didn't do? I didn't drink myself unconscious. I didn't destroy property, and I didn't hit anyone." Archer spoke up, his lawyer's voice measured. "Mitchell, I've known you since you were 8. I watched you grow up. What you've become is not who you are, but it is who you'll stay if someone doesn't stop you. I'm your mother," I said. "And I love you enough to let you face consequences." Detective Hart stepped forward. "Mr. Cabrera, I need you to stand up." Mitchell looked at me, eyes wide. "Mom, no, please. I'll get help. I promise. Just don't, please." The tears were real now, streaming down his face. And God help me, my resolve wavered. Because he was my son, my baby, but he was also the man who'd hurt me. And would hurt me again if I didn't stop this. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm so sorry it's come to this." But Mitchell, I have to do this. For you, for me, for both of us. He looked at me with something like hatred. You're not doing this for me. You want revenge. No. I want to save your life. Because if this continues, you're going to kill me or yourself or both. And I refuse to let that happen. Detective Hart read him his Miranda rights as he handcuffed Mitchell. Mitchell's eyes never left my face, searching for mercy, for the mother who'd always protected him. She wasn't there anymore. I hate you, he said, his voice breaking. You're supposed to love me. I am on your side, I said, standing, my legs shaking. That's why I'm doing this. Being on your side doesn't mean letting you destroy yourself. It means loving you enough to say, enough. The click of the handcuffs was the loudest sound in the room. As they led him toward the door, he turned back. When I get out, Mom, don't expect me to come back. Don't expect me to forgive you. I don't, I said softly. I only expect you to get help. And to understand someday why I had to do this. The door closed. Through the window, I watched them put Mitchell in the police car. Watched my son, handcuffed and crying, being driven away. And then I collapsed into Chloe's arms and sobbed. The house felt enormous without Mitchell in it. For 3 days I moved through echoing rooms. I slept with my door locked and a chair braced under the handle, even knowing he was in jail. I jumped at every sound. Chloe stayed the first week, cleaning out Mitchell's room with ruthless efficiency. She changed the locks. She programmed Detective Hart's number into my phone. You did the right thing, she told me every time she caught me staring into space. But why didn't it feel right? On the 4th day, I saw Dr. Simone Reyes, a therapist Archer recommended. I fell apart on schedule. Tell me what brings you here, Cecilia, Dr. Reyes said gently. I told her everything. About Ricky's death, Mitchell's descent, my year of escalating fear. About sitting on my kitchen floor at midnight, making a choice. I had him arrested, I said, voice breaking. I called the police on my own son. You called the police when you were the victim of domestic violence. Dr. Reyes corrected. That's not the same thing, isn't it? If he's like this, isn't it my fault? Is it your fault that he chose to drink? To hit you? To hurt someone who loved him? I couldn't answer. Every fiber of my being wanted to say yes. Your son is 38 years old, Dr. Reyes said. The choices he made are his, not yours. You're not responsible for what Mitchell did, but you are responsible for what you do next. And what you did was incredibly brave. I kept going back, learning to separate love from responsibility. Learning that I could love someone and still set boundaries. Learning that sometimes the most loving thing is letting someone face consequences. Meanwhile, the legal process ground forward. Mitchell was charged with domestic violence, destruction of property, public intoxication. He was offered a plea deal, 9 months in residential rehabilitation or face trial and potentially years in prison. He needs to take the deal, Archer said. The evidence is overwhelming. The rehab program is his best chance at recovery. Mitchell took the plea. Archer called me afterward. He cried, asked if he could speak to you. What did he say? He said you'd ruined his life, that he'd never forgive you. The words hurt worse than his fists had. But then, Archer continued, right at the end, he turned around and said, tell my mom I'm sorry, tell her I'm going to try. I cried for an hour, because which Mitchell was real? The one who hated me or the one who was sorry? Maybe both. The house settled into a new normal. I started attending a support group for family members of addicts. Listening to other mothers' stories helped me feel less alone, less guilty. About a month later, Archer brought me a letter from Mitchell. I sat with it on my lap for 20 minutes before opening it. Dear Mom, I'm in my 4th week at Sunrise Recovery. The truth is, I'm an alcoholic. I've known it but couldn't admit it. Couldn't admit I was exactly what Dad feared I'd become, weak, a failure. The truth is, I blamed you and Dad because it was easier than looking in the mirror. Easier than trying to change. The truth is, I hate myself for what I did to you. When I close my eyes, I see your face that night. The fear, the blood. I see the man I became, and I don't recognize him. Mom, I don't expect forgiveness. But I need you to know I'm trying, really trying. Not because the court ordered it, but because I realized that if I don't change, I'll end up dead or in prison. I remember being 6 and making you breakfast in bed. Burnt toast you ate anyway. I remember Dad teaching me to fish. I remember being accepted to UNM and seeing you cry happy tears. I remember being loved and loving you back. I don't know if I can find that person again, but I'm going to try. You saved my life by having me arrested. I understand now. You loved me enough to let me fall. And sometimes falling is the only way to learn to stand. I'm sorry, Mom, for everything. I'm going to try to be better. Your son, Mitchell, I read it 3 times, cried through each reading, then folded it carefully and put it in my mother's recipe box. Proof that people could change, or at least proof that they could want to. Whether wanting was enough remained to be seen. 6 months after Mitchell's arrest, I woke up to frost on the windows and a small Christmas tree in my living room. My first Christmas alone in 40 years. It should have felt sad, but it also felt peaceful. Mitchell had completed the initial rehabilitation phase. He was doing well, attending therapy, participating in groups, staying sober. He'd written me twice more, each letter less apologetic, more focused on what he was learning. The program director had called. Mitchell has requested mediation with you. It's entirely your choice, but if you're willing, it could be beneficial for both of you. I've talked it through with Dr. Reyes, with Chloe, with my support group. Do you feel safe? Dr. Reyes asked. With supervision? Yes. And do you want to do this for you, or because you think you should? I wanted closure, one way or another. So I agreed to mediation, scheduled for 2 days after Christmas. On Christmas Day, I made sopapillas and red chili eggs for myself, set a place at the small kitchen table, thought about all the Christmases past, Mitchell as a toddler, Mitchell at 12, Mitchell last year, drunk by noon, and Mitchell this year not here, working on himself. Chloe called. How are you doing? I'm okay. Better than okay. I'm peaceful. That's what you deserve. After breakfast, I drove to the cemetery, knelt by Ricky's headstone. Hi, sweetheart. Mitchell's in rehab. I had him arrested. I know that sounds terrible, but he was hurting me, and I couldn't let it continue. Tears slipped down my cheeks. I keep wondering if you'd be proud of me or disappointed. Sunlight broke through the clouds, warming my face. I'm learning to trust myself, to trust that love can look like hard choices. I hope you'd understand. 2 days later, I drove to the Sunrise Recovery Center with Chloe. The director, Dr. Chen, met me. Thank you for coming. We have strict protocols. There will be a mediator present. If you feel uncomfortable, we stop immediately. Your safety is paramount. She led me to a conference room with large windows overlooking a garden. Round table, 3 chairs. The mediator, Thomas Peters, was arranging papers. Mitchell will join us shortly. This session is about honest communication, not forcing reconciliation. Both parties will speak without interruption. The goal is understanding. Does that sound acceptable? Yes. The door opened. Mitchell walked in and I barely recognized him. He'd lost weight, looked less bloated, more like himself. Hair neatly cut, face clean shaven. His eyes, when they met mine, were clear. Sober clear, ashamed clear, but clear. Hi, Mom, he said quietly, stopping several feet away, giving me space. Hello, Mitchell. We sat down, silence stretched. Mitchell, Mr. Peters prompted, you asked for this. Would you like to begin? Mitchell's hands were clasped on the table, shaking slightly. Mom, thank you for coming. I know you didn't have to. I nodded. I've practiced this for weeks. But now that you're here, everything feels inadequate. So I'll just tell the truth. He looked at me, tears in his eyes. I am an alcoholic and an abuser. I hurt you, the person who loved me most, because I was too weak and selfish to deal with my own pain. I blamed you because you were there, because hurting you felt easier than fixing myself. His voice broke. What I did to you, there's no excuse. I can explain it in therapy, but I can't excuse it. Remember, the mediator said gently, specific accountability. Mitchell nodded. Mom, I grabbed you and shook you and hit you. I destroyed things you loved because I knew it would hurt you. I made you afraid in your own home. I stole from you. I manipulated your love into a weapon. Every single thing was my choice. My failing, not yours. I felt my own tears starting. When you had me arrested, I hated you. I thought you betrayed me. But Mom, you saved my life. If you hadn't done that, I would have killed you eventually, or drunk myself to death. You loved me enough to do the hardest thing. You let me fall. He pulled out a folded paper. I've written down everything I remember doing to hurt you. 3 pages. I read it every morning to remind myself who I was, so I never become that person again. And every morning I think about that breakfast you made, the wedding china, the care you put into everything, even when I'd hurt you so badly. Why did you do that? I asked. Why set such a beautiful table for such an ugly moment? Understanding dawned in his eyes. Because you were showing me that even broken things can have dignity, that even the hardest moments deserve grace. You were showing me what love actually looks like, not protecting me from consequences, but loving me enough to hold me accountable. I nodded, unable to speak. I don't expect forgiveness. But I need you to know I'm different now, or becoming different. It's slow and hard, and some days I want to quit. But then I remember your face that morning, bruised but determined. And I think, if she could be that brave, I can do this. Cecilia? Mr. Peters said. Would you like to respond? Mitchell, I've spent 6 months learning that I can love you and not accept your behavior. That being your mother doesn't mean sacrificing myself. Mitchell flinched but didn't look away. What you did was inexcusable. I'll carry those scars for the rest of my life. But I also carried you for 9 months before you were born. I've loved you for 38 years. And I'm learning that I can acknowledge the harm while still hoping for your recovery. Those 2 things can coexist. Do you forgive me? He asked, his voice small. I'm working on it. Forgiveness isn't a switch I can flip. It's a process, but I'm working on it, just like you're working on recovery. If I complete this program, would you ever want to see me again? I looked at Mr. Peters, who nodded. Not like before. I'll never go back to how things were, but maybe we could meet. Supervised, in public, short visits where we both feel safe. Hope flickered across his face. Really? If you complete the program, stay sober, continue therapy, respect boundaries, then yes, we could try to build something new. Not what we had, something different, healthier. I'll do whatever it takes. Don't promise me. Promise yourself. Your recovery can't depend on me. You have to do this for you. We talked for another hour. When it ended, Mitchell stood slowly. Thank you for coming. Thank you for giving me this chance. Thank you for doing the work. As I walked to the car, I felt lighter. Not healed. That would take years. But lighter, hopeful. How'd it go? Chloe asked. It was good, really good. I think he's going to make it. I think we both are. 3 months later, Mitchell graduated from the program. I attended, sitting in the back. When he received his certificate, he found me in the audience. Mouthed, "Thank you." I smiled, felt my heart crack open with something like joy. We started meeting every 2 weeks at a coffee shop. Neutral ground, 30 minutes, never longer. We talked about his new landscaping job, his AA meetings, his therapy. We didn't talk about that night, didn't need to. It was there between us, a ghost that would always haunt us but didn't have to define us. "You seem happy, Mom," he said one afternoon. "I am, are you?" "I'm sober, and I'm trying. Some days that's the best I can do. But yeah, I think I am. That's all any of us can do." Mitchell sent me a Mother's Day card. "Mom, thank you for loving me enough to let me fall. Thank you for being brave when I was weak. Thank you for showing me that real love means boundaries. Happy Mother's Day to the bravest woman I know. Love, Mitchell." That evening I made dinner for myself, set the table with everyday dishes, poured a glass of wine, sat down alone in my kitchen where 2 years ago I'd lain on the floor and decided to choose myself. I'd done it. Not perfectly, not without scars, but I'd done it. I'd survived, I'd healed. I'd learned that love sometimes wears the face of justice, that compassion sometimes requires consequences, and that the strongest thing a mother can do is refuse to let her love become a cage. As the sun set over the mountains, painting them in purples and golds, I raised my glass. To new beginnings, I said, to my empty kitchen, to Ricky's memory, to Mitchell's future, to my own hard-won peace. And to breakfast, the meal of second chances.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.